Dawn, Renee, thank you so much for joining us on the Plant Trainers podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am very interested to get into today's topic. And before we do, I wanted to know if you have a moment of gratitude to share with us.
Actually, I do have one, and I think it's one that's near and dear to your heart too, and it has to do with ASEA. I've been using some ASEA on myself, but I started using it on somebody I care for, and I'm seeing really great improvement with her, and it's pretty huge because of the state that she's in. So I'm pretty excited about that, and just excited to see where that goes.
That
Absolutely.
is exciting, and I'm grateful for that too. When you reached out to us to say like, "Hey, I have some really great content for the Plant Trainers podcast," and we had a little, chit chat first, and you had heard of the redox before, you had heard of ASEA before, and you looked at the science again, and you said, this is something that can definitely help in our situation, and I'm glad that you're seeing improvements, and I'm just any way that I could help somebody improve their quality of life is great. And sometimes we get amazing results with plant-based, and sometimes we need to take it a little further and use some other tools. So having the tools that we have at Plant Trainers is wonderful, because there is really something for everybody. And you mentioned, the person who you take care of, and really that's what we're going to talk about, is taking care of other people and how to take care of ourselves at the same time. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you found plant-based and what made you make that switch?
Well, my whole life I had been struggling with autoimmune disorders and just a number of issues, health issues. And about 10 years ago, I ended up in a bed and couldn't move. And my husband had to carry me everywhere. He had to take me to the clinic. He had to take me to the doctor. He had to do basically everything that I would do in a normal day for 30 days. He had to do everything and take care of me. And it all stemmed from me not knowing what was triggering my issues. And so while I was in that bed for a month, it gave me a lot of time to think. And it also helped me reevaluate what I was doing with my nutrition. And prior to that event happening, I was still eating meat. And I didn't realize just how badly meat was triggering a lot of my issues. So when I got sick, everything went off the table. I pared it down to plants only. I was eating plants only for 30 days, and basically did 2 smoothies a day, and then did 3 herbal teas a day of marshmallow root. And I did that for 30 days. And after 30 days of doing that, on the 30th day, literally on the 30th day, I was able to stand. Prior to that, I couldn't hold my own weight. I couldn't even get up out of bed. And it was all because of plants. So when that happened, and then looking at all the issues that I was dealing with diabetes type 2. I was dealing with a gluten allergy. I was dealing with allergies to dairy. I was dealing with autoimmune, Lyme, endometriosis, chronic fatigue,
Mold.
gallstones. Well, that came later.
Okay.
That came like 2, 3 years ago. But during that time frame, I was dealing with all this other stuff, and I got bit by Black Widow all at the same time, and then having these gallstone attacks. So literally within a 24-hour period of time, me being bit by the Black Widow, I was down for the next 30 days. And it was plants that saved my life. And prior to that, I was a personal trainer. I believed in, eating my chicken and my broccoli and my potatoes. So I was getting the vegetables, but I was eating the meat too, not realizing that I also had food allergies to meat. So during that period, I went and I did some food allergy tests and found out that I was allergic to salmon and chicken, and I couldn't eat red meat anyway because it made me sick every time. So literally the meat was gone. I threw it all out, didn't want to have anything to do with it, and haven't looked back. It's just been something that I found plants worked best for me, it really did.
How long ago did this change happen for you, and what instigated or initiated moving over to plants as your main source of food or your source of food?
Well, at the time, I was actually working as I was a partner at a holistic care shop, and so we would have people come in and talk to us about their lives and everything, and we would try to help find balance in what they were doing, and try to identify what maybe they were deficient in or what was triggering. And while I was doing this for others, it started to alert me to things that I was feeling and experiencing with myself, and at that time, the lady that I was working with, the owner of the shop, she kept making suggestions. She's like, well, you might want to try just going plants only for a while and see what happens. And at that time, I was still a little resistant. But when I fell and couldn't get up out of bed anymore, I realized that I had to change something. And so at that time, I had also realized, and I had made another mistake, was I was substituting gluten products for the gluten-free products for to get rid of my gluten intolerance. So I don't have that gluten intolerance. I won't eat gluten. And thought, okay, well, you can just go to the store and buy anything on the shelf that says gluten-free and eat those things. And those are going to be good for you. And so through that process, I found out that not just changing to plants, not just changing to grain products, because there's a lot of vegans that eat grain products. I don't eat grain anymore. It's like I've taken the grain out of my life. And so the meat is gone. I do eat anything that's considered to be grain. It's going to be like quinoa. It's going to be, I'll have rice, but it'll be basmati, and it won't be, but maybe once every couple of months. I'm just not a big person when it comes to eating those things. They don't fit with me. So as a part of my evolution of understanding how plants were helping me, I discovered that vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds were my best option. They felt the best on my body, and actually even removing the nuts and seeds for a while, because I felt that sometimes that was complicating issues for me as well. So during that month, I literally pared it down to 2 shakes a day. My shake consisted of a grapefruit, a lemon, some spinach, some hemp powder, some amazing grass, and blueberries. That's it. That's all that was in my shake for a month, for an entire month, 2 of those a day. And it's literally all that I seem to be able to tolerate. And after the 30 days and I was able to stand on my feet again and get my energy back, I realized that plants were my answer from here on out. I just didn't want to experience being in that bed ever again and not being able to lift my own weight again. And then also being in a shop where you're caring for other people and you're trying to be there and hold space for people that are experiencing their own issues. I couldn't ignore my issues anymore and go in denial about it. Oh, I have to have the protein, so I got to eat chicken. No, it's not true at all. That is not true. You get so many more proteins from your greens than you can from the chicken, and your body can actually assimilate it. So yeah, for me, it worked out to be the best solution. And it all kind of happened within a 6-month to 9-month period of realization. Because prior to that, I was living the personal trainer life of broccoli, potato, chicken. Those were my main things.
So you kind of had a little birdie whispering in your ear, and at the same time turned to your own intuition and
Yes.
was able to figure out what was going on. And how soon after you were able to stand up did you begin to diversify your plant foods?
So I went really slow because I didn't want to shock my body. And I was like, okay, this is working. What I'm doing is working. So I started introducing one food at a time. And I would just have that one thing introduced for 7 days before I would take on anything else, because I really wanted to understand if it was hurting me or not. And I wanted to pay attention to any symptoms or signs that I might be feeling. If I got a headache, if it made me feel bloated, if I just wasn't digesting it well, so it was kind of an elimination diet at the same time, trying to identify what was making me feel these things that I was feeling. I walked slowly back into it.
It reminds me of when we had our kids start eating solid foods, and you introduce one solid food at a time, make sure there's no reaction. right? But you've mentioned some really good stuff in there in terms of you were working in this shop and you were helping to care for other people and you needed to care for yourself first. And I think that a lot of people think that it's embarrassing or it's wrong to be on your own health journey as you're helping other people. But indeed, that's not true. There are so many different reasons why you can be in ill health. I mean, a poisonous spider bite is one of them and has nothing to do with what you're eating to begin with. I mean, maybe your body would have been a little bit more resistant to it, but things happen at the same time. So talk to us a little bit about what are some of the challenges, because I know that you were taking part in that in the store, but now also, you know, taking care of people one-on-one. So what are some of the rewards and what are some of the challenges that come with being a caregiver for somebody with a degenerative disease?
Well, you know, when I first started caring for somebody that had a degenerative disease, she has ALS, and I'm a caring person. So, you know, my initial response is to go and save that person, to go jumping in. And no matter what's going on with that person, she needs you. And no matter what's going on with you, she needs you because she can't take care of herself. So at first it was figuring out how to balance my needs with her needs and determining where that self-care thing happened. And at first, the first 2 years, I'll be honest, when I dove in to help her, I let myself go again. So I had built myself up for 5 years. She came into my life about 5 years into my personal journey of discovering for myself. And here I am with this person who 100% needs me 100% of the time. And literally I started, you know, getting up in the morning, first thing, going straight to her house, coming home late at night, going straight to bed. And this started a cycle. And I was doing this for about 2 years. And it took me 2 years to flush it out with her, how we were going to work together, because it was partially her anxiety that I was feeling every time she would need me or she would hit the buzzer, you know, she needs me, and which would be every 5 seconds. And so setting some kind of ground rules and boundaries for myself and relating that to her and then understanding how we could better work together so she would feel like I'm there for her during her journey and I can be there for me on my journey too, which is part of my huge thing now. It's, you know, got to make sure that I take care of myself just as much as I take care of her. And I've gone through a lot of, you mentioned, you know, it can be embarrassing admitting when you have your own health issues and you're trying to be the person that's holding space for all these other people because you've already walked through a lot of stuff yourself. I got news for you. The days of walking through that stuff it keeps going. Every single day I'm walking through new stuff and it's okay. And it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And I feel like my stuff that I have been working through has helped me help her. Helped me find solutions to help her, helped me find ways of intuitively helping her be able to communicate better to me what her needs are so that when I give her what she needs, she feels that she's satisfied enough to where I can have the time and freedom to go do the things that I need to go do for me too. So the journey has been, it's been amazing for me to be walking this for the past 10 years. And now with her, she's given me a whole new element of it and basically seeing the healing process from another person's perspective and witnessing it 24/7 now because I live with her. And then being able to figure out, you know, how to ebb and flow together, you know, and it's a process. Every single day, I just have to intuitively look at it as a brand new day. Every day is a new situation to overcome for me and for her. And I'm not apologetic about it anymore. I used to feel guilt about it because if there was a vacation that came up and, you know, oh, let's be gone for a week. I can't leave her. You know, I can't leave her for a week. Who's going to do all these things and be there for her and make sure to flesh out these things that she needs while I'm gone. And being able to trust in myself and the universe and God and whatever your beliefs are, that each one of us has our own path. And though she's having her journey and it is one that is 100% codependent, she also still has her own dependent 100% on herself journey that she's going through too. And I have to have faith in it. And so really just trusting in that process and trying to identify the things between the two of us and figure out what that looks like and not apologize for it anymore and recognize when I need attention has been two things.
I think all of that is probably intensified when the person who you're caring for is either your partner in life or a blood relative as well, and taking the day off to go to a wedding or go get some sun, leaving the responsibilities for somebody else. And I'm sure physically and emotionally, this kind of care can lead to burnout. What do people have to look for in terms of making sure that they're not burning out, or if they are starting to burn out?
It's not just that, though. Before you answer, I think it's also very challenging for parents. You mentioned partners, but parents always, everybody wants to do the best for other people. And sometimes we lose sight of what we really need as people. And in order to help somebody else, we need to be able to help ourselves first. So I think we have a lot of parents that listen to this show. So it's really something that's going to help them too.
Yeah, even if it's not somebody with a disorder, right? Like,
absolutely,
especially, starting to come out of this whole COVID situation and being home with your kids so much more, or being with your spouse or your partner or somebody who you're caring for when you normally would have left for a couple of hours and somebody else would have been able to take over. It's been hard on people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that you bring up a good point, because just because my friend has ALS, it's definitely a situation that could be applied to any situation, whether you're a parent or whether you're dealing with Alzheimer's or whether you're dealing with anybody who's dependent on you, And for me, when in the times that I've been feeling the burnout, or when I feel like I'm hitting a threshold, so I might have one day, don't know why, where by 7 o'clock at night, I'm just exhausted. I am just completely spent. Don't know what happened. I'm sure there's a lot of things that happened, stress-related things or things that happened during that day that took a lot of energy. And so it's been recognizing when you first feel those symptoms, whether it's a headache or whether it's you need more water because you're dehydrated, or you just need to go rest for a minute or meditate or take a nap. Anytime I'm feeling my body feel any kind of stress, the first thing I do is go take a 15-minute break. So I just immediately say, okay, get done what I got to do right here. As soon as I'm done doing the emergent thing, I am going to go emergently take care of myself, and make an appointment with yourself. Say, I'm going to go have an appointment with myself right now because I'm important too. And that doesn't mean that you're going to neglect them. It just means you're going to go and say, hey, everybody, I'm going to go take a 15-minute time out. I just need 15 minutes to go recollect. So whether that's take a power nap, whether that's go outside and do some breathing exercises, whether that's sit outside and pray, whether that's go outside and read, or just not think about anything at all and meditate, whatever that is for you, that's what I say to people to go do. But do something that doesn't involve any stress. Do something that brings everything back down to kind of that, place where your body likes to be, which is calm. Our natural body wants to be in a place of calm. It doesn't want to be freaking out or trying to go through the stressors that's on it. So it needs calm. So what can you do to bring calm to yourself? Is it yoga? Whatever that is. So find that and go do that. And then if you don't do that, and what I've been guilty of in the past, and now I'm completely accountable and can recognize that I did these things to myself. There's been even at the beginning of this year, I went through an episode of mono because I realized that I had pushed myself. I kept ignoring those little signs. I got this. I can do this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to push through this because I'm stronger than this, and I'm going to show it that I'm stronger than this by pushing through it. And I eat plants, so I can do this. So I feel good. So I would push and get all the way through it. And then by the time I'm done, I've completely emptied everything out of me. I have nothing left. Now I'm passing out. Now, if I sit down, I'm literally falling asleep if you're talking to me, because I've pushed myself past that point. And I'm so guilty of that. My whole life, I've always been the person who's done multiple jobs. I've always been the person who's tried to push past things and try to like prove to myself, I don't need sleep. Sleep is for the weak, right? And so that's not reality. You have to give yourself those opportunities to rest, and resting is the key. And whatever that is for you.
And so being able to help people be well, we have to be well ourselves first. And so taking the stress out of it, taking a moment to calm down, to breathe, to meditate, whatever it is, awesome. To maintain more focus on our self-care, what are some of the other things that you would suggest people to do?
My number one thing is breathing. And it's so funny because somebody asked me nutritionally what I would suggest for somebody first. And I said breathing, because if you practice proper breathing, and I love Wim Hof. Wim Hof is great for me. There's all kinds of other breathing exercises. Indians have great breathing exercises, but any time that you're actively focusing on the breath and then practicing holding the breath and letting that breath saturate your entire body, you're going to oxygenate more. You're going to create more opportunity for your body to assimilate and absorb the nutrients that you're giving it. So breathing is number one. Plus breathing, when you breathe, you can naturally bring your blood pressure down. You can bring your heart rate down. I've had to do this a number of times with the lady I take care of because she would have anxiety. So I would have her practice doing deep breathing in through her nose, out through her mouth, and we would just slow her breathing way down. And I would show her with a pulsometer, that her heart rate would come down just by slowing her breathing down. So when we breathe and we slow our breathing down, it also allows for more oxygen to get to our third eye and to our pineal gland. And then therefore we can think more clearly, and we can have more clarity about the situation. And we can remove the emotion, or at least calm the emotion down to where we can actually process it. So for me, number one is breathing. Number two would be water. What were you going to say?
I was going to say it also allows you to make better decisions. So when we do get to the nutrition and you do have the choice of what goes on your plate, you actually take the time to put food on your plate as opposed to grab something out of the cupboard and put it straight into your mouth.
Exactly. Because what I've found for myself, a lot of times that those hunger pains that I was feeling was this other voice inside my gut that is a lie, by the way, who's down there going, hey, can you send me the sugar? Just send me all the sugar, all of it. And there was a time in my life when I would answer the call and, okay, I'll get you some sugar. I'll be right up with that. Now that's not, I've changed my relationship with it. So that relationship has completely changed. And now the sugar I seek is in fruits and vegetables, but, and then the second thing is water, and having good, clean water, because if you can stay hydrated, because a lot of the times what I've found with a lot of people I help is that they're dehydrated. They're not drinking water. They're not drinking enough water. They're drinking other things. And so they're not getting hydrated. They're dealing with dehydration issues. And a lot of times water alone can fix a lot of things for people. Plus that helps flush out the kidneys and the liver and helps get rid of the toxic things that you might have put into your body. So yeah, those are the main two things. And then the third thing is looking at your plate. And if you're going to eat food, make sure that 80% of your food, at least for me, it's more like 90% of my food. 90% of my food is going to be vegetable or fruit. And 10% is going to be like nut and seed or something else, or avocado or oil. And but what I tell everybody is 80-20. If you follow the 80-20 rule, what's on your plate? And is it alive? Make sure it's alive, because live food, live body. And that's just kind of my motto of ways that I've helped myself.
By alive, we're talking about the plants being
Yes.
in good form, not the animal. Yes.
Not the animal, no. Yes. All these things.
All these things for sure. And what about other things a little bit more less tangible? So maybe music or some kind of hobby. Is that important? Do you find that people who are caring for other people who have a hobby or do something for themselves in that way tend to be stronger throughout?
100%. So I'm also in a duo. So my husband and I write and sing music, and I don't know what I would do if I didn't have that outlet, because that outlet, just being able, and again, just music itself, it vibrates in our body, the energy that it gives our body, the feelings that it might bring on us. Music makes us feel all kinds of things, happy, sad. And being able to use music to boost the mood, or if I'm feeling a certain way and I want to change the vibration that's happening in my body, I'll seek out something that will elevate me and elevate my mood and dance to it, because dancing shakes it off. So you get the vibration going in your body from the music, you get the dancing going to shake all of the stagnant energy off of you, and you can raise your vibration. You raise your you elevate, and when you elevate, changing your elevation alone can help everything that's going on in your body. So that's another great tip, music.
And I think when you talk about, the movement and the vibration, for some people it might be dancing, for some people it might be exercise, it might be swimming, it might be running, it might be lifting, but we do need an element of movement in our day. And for whatever restrictions the person who we're caring for has, they need that as well. And often we know that they need that. So you're doing, the physio moves with them, but are you taking the time to make sure that you're moving as well to help the body?
Absolutely. And the lymph system, it's right underneath the skin and it doesn't move itself. And that's where all of your toxic waste is going from your body. So you need to move. I also have a rebounder, so I rebound, and rebounding helps get my lymph going. You can do yoga. You can, like you said, any sports, any of those activities, kayaking, go swimming, anything that gets your body physically moving. Another thing that's great that I've implemented in the last 9 months has been resistance training. So just using bands. So I like to use bands. I have a rebounder, and then I do yoga. And then I have a yoga trapeze too that I hang upside down, because I like to hang upside down. So if you don't have a yoga trapeze, use a inverter board and you can hang upside down and get your blood flowing the other way. So these are all things to just help keep your blood flowing, keep your lymph going. And these are all things that have greatly improved my life. And I don't know what I would do if I hadn't have found them to be for me. They're part of my recipe.
So let's come back to the caregiving, because as a caregiver, typically everybody gets into a position where they become a caregiver for someone, whether it's a child of their own or a parent at some point. And not everybody knows what to do or how to manage that situation. It might be new for someone. Are there resources available? What kind of support systems are there? How do people stay strong and healthy so that they could be the best caregiver they can be in the situation that they're in, especially when it's a new situation for them?
I would, for that caregiver that's just starting out, I would say the first thing is go find out who your allies are, who's on your side. If you're dealing with a disorder or a disease kind of a situation, is there an association? Like ALS has an ALS society and associations all over the country. Alzheimer's does, cancer does, diabetes. There's associations and groups that you can go to. I would also look, Facebook is a great one for forums. We have a forum on our Traveling Caregivers Facebook for caregivers if they want to come and ask questions or vent. One of the things that happens when you become a caregiver, especially when it's for a family member or somebody that you're caring for, is that you're initially going to feel like you have to sacrifice everything in order to care for that person. So you're going to have to change your schedule. You're going to have to change your daily routine. You're going to have to figure out what that means for you. And if it's worth it to keep them home, or whether or not you're considering to put them in someplace. For me personally, I know for a fact that the palliative care that we do is 110, 150% better than anywhere else that my friend's going to get it. And we're going to change our lives to make it work for her. And we have. So even her husband, he works mostly from home. And we trade off with each other. So that way we can give each other time to go do the things that we need to do. And so we found kind of a buddy system that worked for us. So finding somebody in the family that you can trade off the schedule with, so that you can create a schedule and say, okay, I've got Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Can you get Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, setting up some kind of a schedule that works. Also identifying the needs that the patient has, what supplies that they're going to need, getting out ahead of it, writing it out, figuring out what they're going to start needing right away so that you can start systematically having that stuff on auto ship, make sure that it's going to arrive so that you don't have to constantly be chasing it. Because if you're constantly chasing it, that's one more job, and it really does take away from your time. If cleaning the house is an issue and you'd rather spend time caring for your person, then hire a house cleaner or hire somebody to come in and take care of your house chores once a week or whatever you can afford. Or see if somebody in the family is willing to do that as a part of their help. There's certain ways that you can go about it, and definitely looking at your family, and don't be afraid to ask, because even what I found with the lady I care for, I'm her friend. She didn't really necessarily want her family caring for her. She was embarrassed. So even as a person who's in the situation she's in, she's embarrassed about the situation she's in, and she doesn't want to share that embarrassment with her family. It really hit her. And so when they come to visit, what we have determined is the way that they help is they help me clean the house, or they might help in the yard. They help me with other things, or they just sit with her for hours and tell stories, because that's what she really wants. She just wants somebody to sit there with her for hours and tell stories. So it's identifying what is going to give care to that person while you're able to set up some kind of a system that's going to work around that. And you just keep fine-tuning it, because it changes all the time, but you get as much of it on autopilot as you can, because that will get you some time back in your day.
And I think you've made a really good point that when you're caring for someone, it's not just dressing them and feeding them and making sure that all of their levels are okay. There's a household to run. There's an outdoor area. There's personal connection. So some people are lucky enough to have family members who cover all of those bases. Some people are lucky enough to have family members who could at least cover the visits a couple of times a week. And if you're even luckier, they will help with chores and things like that. But some people don't necessarily have that. And some people don't want to put the burden on other family members, or other family members live too far away or have too many children under the age of 5 or whatever it is. So if we're looking to hire someone to take care of, then what do we need to look for? What are those important qualities and qualifications? And are qualifications important in this case? What do they need to look for when looking for somebody to invite into their home to help take care of their loved one?
Well, first thing too, because you brought up another point, I totally forgot to mention this. If you don't have those things, you can look at the government, the state, and see if they have any state programs that you might qualify for. So if you can't necessarily afford to have an ambulance come and pick up your person and take them to the clinic, or a shuttle to come, there is, here in Tennessee, we have a shuttle that you can actually become a part of a program where they will come and pick you up in your wheelchair and take you to your destination if you qualify. Same program, they might offer nursing. So they might have a nurse that could come out and do a bath, 5 days a week, and they could be here for 2 hours a day. You might have insurance that might cover a nurse visit for 2 hours a day. So looking into your insurance to see what might be available there, looking into any state programs that you might qualify for. And if you don't fit any of those profiles, which is completely possible, and you're kind of in that place where you can afford the help, but you don't have a lot of money to afford for the help. So you have to come up with a budget, and you have to ask yourself, okay, what am I willing? What would bring me the most? What help for me right now? Is it 1 day a week? Is it 2 days a week? Is it every day a week? You're looking at here in the States, you're looking at paying approximately $18 to $25 an hour for somebody who is what I would consider to be qualified. And what I mean by that is you're looking for somebody that's either, and it also is dependent on your situation and how deep down your situation has gone. So for me, I need somebody who has basically been able to handle turning a patient, who can handle the physical needs, because my patient does not come out of her bed unless we're taking her outside. So we do everything in her bed. And so you have to be able to physically turn her. You have to be able to do all of the massage work. You have to understand what that is. You have to understand a vent. You have to understand a feeding tube. You have to understand a catheter, understand all the ramifications of cleaning those areas and making sure that all of that's taken care of. So for me, when I'm looking for somebody, I'm looking for two different types of people. I'm looking for one to be my physical person who can handle all the physicality stuff. And then I'm looking for a technical person who can handle maybe doing the trach, because what I've discovered is that you might not find the person who's one and the same. You might not find the person that can handle the physical moves and can handle doing suctioning from a person with a vent. So you might have to look for that person who just specializes in that, and then you have to look for the person who can handle the other stuff. But the person that can handle the physical stuff can also handle cleaning, can handle cleaning up her room and cleaning up her area and handle the food schedule. And so it's just about determining what are those needs for your patient and then matching it. When I started going out and doing interviews, I went to places like care.com and put up a profile, and I had a few people call, and I interviewed a few people and still didn't really find that I found the right person. I actually found the person that I have, the two people that I have now, from referrals. And I went to the associations and I went to them and I said, do you guys have anybody you refer that has handled my instance before, that has handled ALS and has an understanding of what we're dealing with here? So I went and specifically found people that had handled ALS before. You might also look into hospice nurses, because hospice nurses or caregivers of hospice have dealt with all sorts of situations. And so they have more of an understanding and more of a patience with a person that's in more need. Another thing is going and setting up an ad. You can set up your own placement ads and see what you get from that. And then what I always say is when you're interviewing people, make sure you're very clear on what you're looking for in this person. And what you're not looking for in this person. So one of my things, and I'm saying this because I had a thing when I'm interviewing people, if they bring up to me hours or how much they're going to make within the first, without asking me about the patient first, I'm not interested in that person, because, and I know that I have to care for the person who's looking for the job too, but I have to care for the person who I need taken care of first. And for me, I really want to make sure that the person that's in there is going to be patient with her, because it takes a lot of patience to work with a person that's going through what they're going through. And in the beginning of what Anne was going through, it was a lot of anxiety. So she would throw tantrums, and it was a lot of emotional release. And when you're dealing with people who are having emotional release, you have to be in a place where you're calm, because you can't engage with that. And so identifying those things, when I would sit down and interview with somebody, I would have certain questions, certain criteria of questions that I would specifically ask just to see the reaction. And based on their reaction, it would tell me whether or not I was going to have them back again. So
sounds like you're looking for skills, but you're also looking for personality and character traits that's equally important, if not maybe even more important than the skills. And once you could get that part, you've gained so much knowledge in the last 15 years of this work that you've been doing, and it really is quite amazing what you've been able to do for yourself, what you've been able to do for the lady that you take care of. Tell us a little bit about Traveling Caregivers and how you might be able to help some of the people listening who are in the position or maybe about to go into the position of taking care of somebody else.
So Traveling Caregivers was my way of advocating for caregivers and sharing my experiences, sharing what I've already gone through. I've vetted so many products. There's so many things I believe in now after using them for so long. And being able to take that and say, okay, caregivers, here's what I've learned. You have to put the air mask on first. If the plane is going down, you have to put the air mask on first, because if you don't put the air mask on first and the plane goes down, you're just going down with the plane. And so you won't be able to help anybody else on the plane. So put the air mask on first means self-care, finding ways of self-care. And through my journey and experience of all this stuff, I'm packaging all of this in Traveling Caregivers and trying to help find the caregiver within for caregivers by offering my solutions, my story, my resources, the products I've discovered as a way that maybe these things are some things that can help you too. Maybe they can help find your self-care. You can find your own recipe because each one of us has our own specific things that are going to work for each one of us. And I don't expect what's worked for me to work for everybody, but I would hope that something might shed some light on somebody else's journey and bring them some joy, because I spent so many years in pain that I never want anybody to feel that pain. And now that I realize you don't have to feel that pain, you might as well stand up on a soapbox and say, hey, here's some things, try some things. Maybe they work for you. Maybe they don't work for you, but I'm here for you. And if you just want to talk to me, I'm here for that too. So Traveling Caregivers was started as a resource for bringing all that together and providing respite and self-care for caregivers.
And we can definitely associate with that feeling of, hey, I've learned it the hard way and I want to help as many people not get into that situation. If somebody's interested in Traveling Caregivers, is it more of a program or package that they purchase, or is it like one-on-one coaching from you? What would that look like?
Right now, it's just been one-on-one coaching. In the future, I hope to branch out and have all kinds of things available for, more people. But right now, I'm just doing one thing at a time. We do have a forum, and people can come to the forum and talk to me if they want to talk to me there. I'm hoping that the podcast that we're doing today will help shed some light on maybe somebody's journey. And I'm happy to talk to people. I just want to get this message out there,
I think it's
as much as possible.
Yeah, I think it's such important work that you're doing, and thank you for sharing all those great tips and the story and Traveling Caregivers. I think it's a great opportunity for people to really dive into a space that there may not be a lot of information already available. So I think it's really valuable, and thanks for sharing. If people want to reach out and connect with you, where would you like them to go?
You can find me at travelingcaregivers.com, and that's with one L, Traveling Caregivers with one L.com. And you can go there and find my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter. You can reach me literally on any of it. So I get all of the messages. So no matter where you put your comment or message in, I'm going to get it.
Amazing. We're going to link to all that in the show notes at planttrainers.com.
Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Dawn, for your time today, for everything that you're doing. And I really do think that there are people out there that are going to take a breath, have a glass of water, take some reflection on themselves. And if they're doing the best for their person who they're caring for, and by taking care of themselves enough. And I know that you'll make an impact for sure. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.